The Cincinnati Bengals shocked everybody by going to the Super Bowl in 2021. However, they started 2022 with a bit of a Super Bowl hangover, going 4-4. But from there on out, they finished the regular season 8-0. They go to the AFC Championship game where Joe Shiesty would actually have his first loss at Burrowhead. So yes, the expectations for 2023 are through the roof. Let's go ahead and discuss. And what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse as we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to go over the coaching staff, the scheme, and the roster. But stick with me until the end of the video because I'm going to give you my prediction for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023. So without further ado, let's just go ahead, get this sucker started with the coaching staff as Zac Taylor. A lot of people had him on the hot seat, like going into like the beginning of this year, because it was like, man, the offense just isn't what it was, and then just turned it around. And a lot of that has to do with what he did schematically, because if you look at Zac Taylor coming from Sean McVay, no kidding, this guy wants to run outside zone, this guy wants to run the wide zone blocking scheme, but then he totally shifts and allows Burrow to take more snaps in shotgun. We see more man blocking, like a lot of duos. And I mean, no kidding, they go out and they get Orlando Brown. It just kind of makes all the sense in the world. You're kind of shifting to this, or at least they shifted to it last season. And the offense just kind of exploded. They incorporated a lot more RPOs, which Burrow, I mean, that was a big part of the offense at LSU. So like, yeah, Zac Taylor, you saved your job. He did a fabulous job. The play calling was much better, because keep in mind, like Bill Callahan and Frank Pollock, they actually have a heavy hand in the play design. As you can see, Bill Callahan, he's the OC, but Frank Pollock is the running game coordinator, also offensive line coach, really good coach in general. But Zac Taylor, I thought his time management I thought it improved by leaps and bounds. Am I saying, oh, he is like top in the league, he is among the best? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was much improved. And Zac Taylor, you deserve your flowers. This is a team that it feels like they're going to be a dynasty for quite some time. But however, the AFC, very competitive this year. Brian Callahan, if you're unfamiliar with him, he was a former QB coach for the Raiders and the Lions. I'm kind of thinking he's kind of next up for a head coaching job in the NFL. I was kind of surprised that he wasn't really a big name on the market last season. I feel like he will be this year. But this is what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about Coach Lou, because I was his biggest doubter. And I'm willing to say that because I just didn't really know what he was doing. It felt like he was trying to blend a variety of different schemes, and just like it felt like nothing was really working, as slowly this man was assembling the parts. And it just all came together in this defense. I'm not saying this is like a top 10 defense in the league, but this is a defense that's like, listen, we trust our offense to score more than you. We're going to come in and we're going to try to create pressure. Like, okay, we might bend against the run here and there, but we're going to create pressure. We're going to create havoc. We're going to create turnovers. And that's what Coach Lou does. He is instantly become one of my favorite coaches in the league, because it was like finally all the dots connect, and I was like, oh man, I really love what they have built here. What they've built here in Cincinnati defensively. I've just been very, very, very impressed. If you're unfamiliar, he was formerly a DB coach there for the Giants, and yeah, I think he's probably going to be another guy that you might hear as a head coaching candidate. If you're unfamiliar with the defense, let's just kind of briefly go over it here. It's a multi-front, they don't mind bringing in even or odd fronts. They'll align their guys in a variety of different ways, though, thanks to just the good talent they have on the interior there. They don't like to stack the box. They kind of trust their defensive line to do enough. I mean, when you got DJ Reader and BJ Hill, these just big boys. You're like, yeah, nah, they could get the job done well enough. Coverage wise, what we're seeing, cover 3, Tampa 2. We will see like maybe like on third downs. You'll see cover 1, cover 0. So like he really does a variety of different things. Like that's what I really like. It's like you've assembled a ton of personnel that serve a purpose. Like in this roster, like not one player like you bring in. It's like, no, there is a role for you in this defense. It's just, that's how flexible the scheme is. And honestly, that's how coaches should view when they come in. It's not like, okay, what players don't fit my scheme? It's like, no, how can I fit my scheme to these players and their skill sets? When it comes to blitz rate, you're going to be like, yeah, he didn't really get after it too much last year. It was 22nd in the league, at 20.4%. However, you look on third and longs, the blitz rate was 10th highest in the NFL, 40.4%. So it was like, oh, third and long, we're coming. Like, whew. Again, just a big fan of Coach Lou here. I think he has just done a fabulous job. I love the coaches here in general. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Zach Taylor guy, but I'm definitely I like him a lot more now. But I am total marks for Brian Callahan and Coach Lou. All right, let's go ahead and get to the offense. But first, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is currently one of the most premier fantasy betting apps, and they got a best ball tournament with $15 million in cash prizes. So if you sign up at Underdog Fantasy using promo code Broshmo, they will match your first deposit up to $100. Remember, when you sign up, use promo code Broshmo, and they will match that first deposit up to $100. News, we are literally in fantasy draft season. I just had 2 drafts yesterday, and I got my big money one coming up this Sunday, and there's not a better place to do fantasy football than Underdog Fantasy. They currently got Best Ball Mania, where there's $15 million in cash prizes available. So go ahead, check out Underdog Fantasy, but with all sorts of gambling, bet responsibly, my friends. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker with the offense. I have them as a top 5 offense. A lot of that, is on the back of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is just, he good. Joe Shiesty is amazing. Like, you're not going to find a guy who is really this accurate with the football. Like, I honestly think he's probably one of, if not the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. Last season, I believe his adjusted completion percentage was 77. The year before that, it was 80. Like, this guy is stupid accurate with football. That's something we knew coming out of LSU, where like I think that cat's adjusted completion percentage was like 82-85%. That's just ludicrous. This guy is very accurate with the football. He's very good with the ball placement. He might not have the biggest arm. He really doesn't. He has very average, I would say a very average arm, considering most of the NFL, but he is very timely. Like, this dude throws with good touch. It's not like he's just going to carelessly throw the ball downfield. I like the pocket presence. He's not like a burner with his legs, but he can create extra time to go out and just make a play. He can create with his legs, so to speak. So Joe Burrow is just fabulous. Top 3 quarterback in the NFL. For me, Patrick Mahomes, no one's touching him. He's just the best QB in the league. No one plays quarterback better than him. But then you got the incredible upside of Josh Allen, and then just the great prowess and accuracy of Joe Burrow. I feel like for a lot of people, those are the 3. But let's go ahead and talk about his weapons, because fun fact, he has got one of the best wide receiver duo in the NFL, but that probably should go to the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, baby, fins up. But you know what? Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins, they ain't half bad. And you know what? These were 2 cats that I was exceptionally high on coming out of their respective drafts. A lot of people were kind of poo-poo on Jamar Chase when he came out, because He opted the year before. Remember, it was a Rona year, so everything was kind of backwards, and it felt like people just forgot how good like Jamar Chase was. Like, this is a cat that he is just sneaky, explosive, creates after the catch, and guess what? Bam, one of the best receivers in the league. And then Tee Higgins has emerged the last couple of seasons, and he was someone that I think he fall to the second round? He did. He fell to the second round in 2020, which I thought was a bit unusual. I think I had him. I think he just made my top 20 that year because I was like, this is a guy that he needs to get. He has the size to be this prototypical X, a guy that can win downfield. I just wanted to see him be a bit better as a contested catcher, and he truly has. Last season, he was close to 70%? 60%, my bad. It was 57.6%. I mean, him and Jamar Chase both had under 5% drop rate, which is just great. You have the most sure hand receivers in football. They're phenomenal. This is a scary 1-2 punch, and they're looking to the future of holding on to these guys and kind of having this be the nucleus with Joe Burrow. But hey, don't sleep on Tyler freaking Boyd. I feel like he's one of the better slot receivers in the league, and people just forget how good this cat is. Is he after like contact after catch guy? No, not really. But we talked about the sure hands of Jamar Chase and of Tee Higgins. Tyler Boyd probably got better hands. His drop rate 1.5 last season. His contested catch 66.7. The dude gets it done. He is a good route runner. He can create space. Like, he doesn't even necessarily need to be a guy that can create when in a jam. Like, he could just run away from guys. And the dude is just phenomenal, man. If you include the playoffs last season, he had over 850 yards. He had 5 tutties. So, like, yeah, you know what? When you're going to be the third option at best when you have Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd is one hell of an option. Now, they lose Hayden Hurst last season. If you remember a year prior, it was like CJ Uzomah. They bring in Irv Smith Jr. Not the biggest fan because, quite frankly, it's just because he can't stay healthy. So I'm kind of curious if he can stay healthy. Can he be relevant in this offense? I mean, to be fair, Hayden Hurst, it's not like he blew the top off the NFL. He was fine. He was good. He was a solid tight end. And if Irv Smith Jr. can match that, then that's great. They have good depth at actually both pass catch and positions. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm doing this literally as cuts are coming in. And right now, like, as far as I know, the only cut the Bengals have made is Terrell Basham. So some of this stuff can change, but this is why I kind of really talk a lot about the starters, because I mean, that's what's going to dictate how well the team plays. But let's talk about the depth here. Drew Sample, very solid tight end. I wasn't that high on him because I really thought when he came out in 2019, because I thought, kind of a reach for a blocking tight end. It really, he has developed very nicely to be a bit much more than that. Mitchell Wilcox, another guy who was coming out of South Florida with some big upside, and I think he's developed pretty solid to be just a depth option there. Looking at some of the other guys that they may consider, Devin Asiasi, who was a former third-round pick by the Patriots at UCLA. Probably long shot here to make the roster, but I mean, there was a reason why he was a third-round pick. A lot of people really liked what he brought in terms of an athlete, a receiving presence. He had a good traditional tight end body. Nick Bowers, honestly, Reed Sinnott, and I wonder if he's related to Ben Sinnott. Here, hold on. Let's do a little investigation here. Well, they got him listed as QB. Wait, pause. What? Is he going from QB to tight end? Oh, no. I see what happened here. I see. Okay. I was like, this name doesn't click. Okay, Nick Bowers is apparently the other guy maybe going after tight end 4. Couldn't really tell you much about like Tanner Hudson or Christian Tryon. So like, I mean, at that point, these guys are very likely not to see the field. Let's talk about the wide receiver depth. Trenton Irwin, he's been a guy that they've used on special teams, and he's come in and kind of been like a 4th wide receiver when they needed it. But they draft Charlie Jones, so I feel like that's kind of that's Irwin's role. So like they still probably keep Irwin potentially just because, I mean, Trent Taylor, he could contend for wide receiver 6. Stanley Morgan, someone that I've liked. He's kind of shown some stuff in the past here and there, and he's also a special teamer. Like, oh no, I think it doesn't matter. I think Charlie Jones is the guy that's probably going to step up and potentially even be a replacement for Tyler Boyd if Cincinnati wants to just get cheaper. You got Andre Yoshivas, who I was actually a big fan of coming out of Princeton. Initially, I thought he was like, oh, great. This is just another track star playing football. But no, that's not the case. Good size, go up, get the football, can create after the catch. I thought he had a solid Senior Bowl. I think I had him as like this 4th, 5th round option. He ends up going to the 6th round, really good value. So they are definitely looking to get more depth there at receiver. They're looking towards the future. I think that more so spells the end of Tyler Boyd. Believe me, I think they want to hold on to Higgins, and they dare not try to lose Chase. I mean, that's Joe Burrow's buddy. That's his buddy. The remainder of the depth is just a bunch of UDFAs. Back Hippenhammer out of Miami, Ohio. I didn't really see anything special. Shedrick Jackson was the speedster out of Auburn, but you kind of question, okay, is he more track star than athlete? Malachi Carter, I believe, was the Georgia Tech, big body, was supposed to test really well. And like I say, was supposed to test really well. He was supposed to test out of this world. His testing numbers, they were solid. They were fine, but they weren't to like a lot of other people's expectations, which were kind of preposterous. But all in all, like you have the best wide receiver duo, one of the best wide receiver duos in football. Solid slot. Irv Smith Jr., if he can be healthy, I think he'll be fine. We could go ahead and move to the run backs at this point. Joe Mixon took a pay cut to stay with this roster. And I mean, at this point, it's like, yeah, Joe Mixon, he's fine. You're kind of hoping maybe you could replace her with I would say replace him with a slightly cheaper option. But I mean, honestly, like the price they have him at right now is actually pretty darn good. He's not a guy that will create after like contact, like only 26 force missed tackles on 250 carries. Like this man's legitimately going down after contact, but he'll occasionally break off the big run. But like all in all, like Mixon's fine until you could find someone else. I mean, they went out and got Chase Brown. Like, okay, Chase Brown out of Illinois. Like, he can be a home run hit. He's got good speed. He can eat contact. Problem is with him was fumbles. Fumbles was just kind of a big thing for him. I think he had 5 or 6 last season for Illinois. So someone who might not even see a lot of playing time relatively early on. Actually, I'm kind of curious to see what he did in the preseason. Excuse me. No fumble in the preseason, but golly, it wasn't like only 69 yards on 28 attempts. I mean, he's probably playing with like the 3rd team. So, I mean, to be fair, yeah, no, I'm surprised Chris Evans isn't higher on this list. Because, okay, let's be honest about Travion Williams, man. This man can never stay healthy. I was a big fan of him coming out. I believe it was, we'll say Oklahoma or Texas A&M. Texas A&M. I knew it was one of the two. I knew it was white and some form of red. But he just has been unable to stay healthy, unfortunately. You know who Oklahoma was? I can't remember the name, but they had a cat maybe a couple of years ago that was Oklahoma back. I think they probably drafted him the same year too as Travion Williams, but he just could never stay healthy. So yeah, I feel like Chris Evans, he's kind of the best of like all worlds. He's a very good pass protector or like pass blocker there in the backfield. He's a good receiving back, and he's actually pretty darn good as a rusher. Like, is he like phenomenal? Is he like great? Is he like that next step? No, I think he's fine enough. But yeah, I think Chris Evans is probably the guy that sees time after Joe Mixon, and then maybe Chase Brown. It really depends on, again, Travion Williams, if he stays healthy. Low-key, I really liked Calvin Tyler coming out of Utah State, I believe. I think it was the hula ball that where he caught my eye. Yeah, out of Utah State, as you could tell. Very low to the ground at 5'8", 208 pounds, but golly, he is shifty. He is quick. Don't know how he makes this roster, though. So probably ends up being on the practice squad. So Chris Evans is your receiving back for all intents and purposes. When we're talking about the run game, yeah, it needs to get better. Like, this is a much better pass blocking offensive line than it is run blocking. And let's just go ahead and look at the stars. The big addition there, of course, is Orlando Brown Jr. He's coming over, and honestly, I like the price they paid him with, because it sounded like he wanted to get like Trent Williams money, and I was like, you ain't Trent Williams, but like, you're fine, but like, golly. So $16 million a year ain't half bad. I believe that's what it came out to, $16 million a year. So he's gonna come in and play left tackle, because tackle was kind of a problem last year. You had Leo Collins, who wasn't he wasn't great. He just wasn't great. Let's just call a spade a spade. He was still beat up, though. This guy, since like getting injured, I think it was a knee injury, right, in Dallas. That kind of like, it's just kind of derailed what he used to be. Like, he came back, and you know what? Maybe he came back too early, because currently right now he is on the PUP. So like, he didn't play well. They had Jonah Williams, who he's fine until he has to face like a top 10, top 15 pass rusher. Problem is you're in the same division as sneaking Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. So Godspeed, good luck. You know, so Jonah Williams I don't mind him over here, right? We know he could play both sides, so like, I don't mind him now kind of coming in and being like the lesser of the two in the tackle bunch. But when Collins comes back healthy, like, if Jonah Williams is still just very average, you got to imagine they're going to give Collins a shot there. Especially, I mean, considering where he came from in Dallas. So very familiar with what they do schematically. Jackson Carman, I think, showed some good developments last season. Like, he stepped into the wild card game, right? Yeah, the wild card game, I think. And played pretty darn well. Was it the wild card or was it the divisional round? I can't recall. Regardless, I thought he did a solid enough job. Yeah, he needs to get better as like kind of this road grader, but like, the pass protection, definitely, that was kind of one of the areas where it was like he was just very unpolished coming out of Clemson. So honestly, kind of really good depth that they have there. They also have on that line, we're talking about Ted Karras, Alex Kappa. Those are two like just solid, above average starters. That's why they brought them in. They wanted to creep more towards average on that offensive line. And they're actually very good pass protectors. They leave maybe a little bit to be desired as run blockers, but they're fine enough to get the job done. Cordell Volson, for me, I thought his rookie year went about as you would expect it for an early day 3 option. Like, I didn't think he was particularly good, but I didn't think he was just like painstakingly bad. I think as long as he's the worst player on this offensive line, then you're going to feel good about your offensive line. And that's kind of the case, right? As long as he can stay healthy. So like Volson, for me, like again, he was a rookie last year. I'm not going to be like, oh, no, wash my hands of it. He's too average, too too average, and a lot of cases where he's suboptimal. No, I'm going to be like, okay, let's go ahead, check him out. If you don't recall, I think he was the right tackle at North Dakota State. So he's kicking into guard because like the dude just didn't have the movement skills. So, and to be fair, like once they start switching to more of a man blocking scheme, like I thought he played a hell of a lot better. Just going to put that out there. I thought he started playing a hell of a lot better. Let's go ahead and talk about the depth here. As I was about to mention Deontay Smith, who was a project out of ECU, Eastern Carolina, if you don't know. And just someone who was a very good athlete that you're kind of hoping to develop. And I'm kind of curious, does he maybe get a shot here if Collins can't stay healthy, if Jonah Williams is just very mediocre? Like, kind of curious between him and Jackson Carman, man. Will he get a shot? This guy hasn't even played 100 snaps in his career yet. Again, he's just kind of been developing and serving as a backup. So I am actually very curious. Very curious. They have Trey Hill here, another guy who's kind of been developing, coming out of, I believe it was Georgia. And I was kind of hoping like he might get a shot over, who was it? Trey Hopkins? Was it Trey Hopkins that used to be the center here for Cincinnati? I can't recall, but I thought Trey Hill maybe would get a shot. To be fair, didn't look particularly great when given opportunities, but someone they've been developing, so it's fine. If they have injury, he steps up. That's cool. Cody Ford, he's kind of a journey depth player at this point. Someone I actually really liked coming out of Oklahoma. It just never developed. Or at least, yeah, never developed. They have Max Sharpen here. He actually saw some time last season, didn't he? Yeah, he did. I remember him during the playoffs because like injuries were kind of a thing. Yeah, he's not that good. So hopefully like you don't see him. Just hopefully. Actually, I think there's a good case to be made that Jackson Kirkland, who I thought is pro ready, maybe not a tackle. He was playing tackle in 2021 for Washington, had his ups, had his downs, moved back to guard. Thought he was a solid guard. Really did. And he honestly probably would have came out for, he would have been in the 2022 NFL draft class if not for, I can't remember specifically, it was a lower body injury that he suffered at the Shrine Bowl, but probably he's pro ready. I think there might be a shot he makes this roster. If anything, he ends up on the practice squad. You got Hakeem Adeniji, depth. The guy never really developed. He's seen playing time because of the lack of health they've had on offensive line, and I don't know. I think he's probably a cut candidate at this point. But you're looking good with the stars. Like I said, like if Volson, if he ends up being the worst player on your offensive line probably is in good shape. So yeah, I got him as a top 5 offense. I'm a big fan of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins. I love that nucleus right there. Even Tyler Boyd. I love Tyler Boyd. So let's go ahead. Get to the defense. I have the defensive rank as a top 10 unit. I'm a big fan of this defense, in particular the Coach Lou here. He just, again, man, kind of like turned my opinion on him. And really, I feel like it's probably more ignorance on my part, where it's like, I don't really see what you're doing here. It seems like you can't choose what you want your defense to be. And he's like, precisely. I don't want the offense to know specifically what I'm going to be doing every down, every play. And now I love it. But this team does have a lot of depth. They draft well and they develop guys well. So like if injury happens, there is typically someone who will step in, and you will either be not losing much from your usual starter, or you're like, oh wow, this guy should be a starter. It's kind of what the Bengals have been doing the last few seasons. Let's start with this defensive line, and I want to start with the interior because remember, this is a team that prefers lighter boxes. They really want to stop the pass, and they feel good enough with their interior players that they don't need much help to stop the run. Obviously, you got DJ Reader, who like this team is vastly different when Reader wasn't healthy last season. But he is just so darn good. He's coming in at 335. I think he does more than just eat space there in the middle, but he's capable. He's a capable pass rusher as well. 32 pressures last season. And then next to him is BJ Reader, coming in with 45 pressures last season. Like I don't know why. I didn't feel like he was that dominant as a pass rusher. I just know him to be a solid run defender. And like he's just been very good over his career. You could go back to the Giants, his Giant days there. But let's take a deeper look to the interior group, and then we'll talk about the edge group. They got honestly Josh Tupu. I always mess up this name. Is very good depth. Like when called upon, he's fine. He's just like. Is he like flipping amazing? No, but he's fine. He's good depth. Zach Carter, they're still developing. Where's his body at right now? That's my question. Where's his body at? He's still sub 300 at 290. See, he's a bit of a tweener, man. Like they kind of have. I guess you could have him as like a penetrated 3-tech, or play this like. Maybe play over top or just inside of the tackle. Like, and I was a big fan of Carter coming out because of his versatility. So, like, hopefully we see some development with him. They got Jay Tofele, who I remember when he came out, people were just over the moon about this cat, and I was just like, I don't see the hype, but he's here. He's depth. Looking at the edge group, obviously the starters, choking on my words here. Starters here, Trey Hendrickson, amazing. Trey Hendrickson is just flipping phenomenal. Last season, he had 74 pressures, did have 9 sacks. But again, that pressure rate, very, very good. Hubbard was actually pretty darn solid too. Like, and I give a lot of grief for Hubbard being like, I think he's one of the lesser edge 2s in the league, but like, dude, he's solid. He is very solid. I feel like I don't give him enough credit. I know he's beloved in Cincinnati too. Like he's a fine run stopper. But in terms of the depth that they have there, Joseph Asai kind of emerged during the playoffs. I know everyone points to the freaking late hit out of bounds, which for a lot of people, it took away from what he did that game. Like, he was unstoppable against the stinking Chiefs last season, like in the AFC Championship game. He really was. Like, he had 4 pressures. He was there to make stops. Again, it just came down to that stupid penalty, man. But if you don't remember, he had to, I believe, redshirt his rookie season. I forgot specifically what the injury was, but last season actually get his first taste of NFL play, and I thought he was solid. So you got a really good rotation player there, Cam Sample, kind of a tweener. If anything, they draft Miles Murphy. I think he probably usurps Sample anyway. I mean, how many snaps did Sample have last year? Almost 500, so that's a lot of snaps. But like, Sample's fine. It's just like Murphy, that's to do with the upside. I mean, they have these similar body types. It's just you got the better athlete in Miles Murphy. Actually, Miles Murphy, what was he down to by the time he got to the combine? He was at 275. And I believe Sample, when he came out of, was it Tulane? Tulane, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's basically a similar body type. You're just getting a much freakier athlete in Miles Murphy. Speaking of freaky athletes, Jeff Gunter was another guy who is just a very, very very good athlete who really doesn't just very unpolished, unrefined, not a lot of technique, no pass rush plan. So someone they've been developing. Raymond Johnson, probably not making the squad. I liked him coming out of Georgia. I think it was Georgia Southern. But just a dude that kind of flies off the edge. I don't see him making the squad. Owen Carney was kind of a freak athlete at his size coming out of Illinois. He ends up being a UDFA, and that's kind of the thing. They have a lot of exceptionally fast and explosive athletes on this defensive front. It is, I love it. I love it. Talking about linebackers, this is actually one of the best tandem in the NFL with Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt. I mean, this is why they extended those guys this season. They're like, no, we like our linebackers here. We need to get a deal done with them. I think Logan Wilson the last couple of seasons has been I would say solid in coverage. What was his splash plays? So more splash plays this year. Oh no, I'm looking at Von Bell. Okay. Yeah, Wilson's not a splash play guy. He's more of a minimal gain, but he's a very sure tackler. Only a 4% missed tackle rate. Good at coming in and stopping the run. Jermaine Pratt, I knew, very good athlete. Just kind of flies around the field, but there are times where it's just I feel like he just kind of, I don't want to say doesn't know what he's doing, but he kind of finds himself out of position, whether that's against the run or in coverage. And then last year, he kind of flipped that sucker on its head because he was hella good. He was more of a sure tackler. He was the one making splash plays in coverage for pass breakups to interceptions. So it's yeah, these guys, they're young and they're hella good. Love it. Looking at the depth that they have, they don't really have much depth at linebacker, but I mean, that's fine. They've kind of been developing these two cats, Keem Davis Gaithers, who they drafted out of Appalachian State. And then I think Marcus Bailey was Purdue. They've kind of been developing these guys, but I think at this point it's they're probably going to let these guys contract end and then just kind of maybe just replenish the position with maybe more late day 3 picks. I mean, they bring in Joe Bocci, who came out of Michigan, was more of a special teamer, better athlete than you'd expect. So I think there's a good shot maybe he makes the roster. Shaka Hayward, I really liked that at Duke. Just a very good athlete. However, I feel like he's at the early portion of Pratt's career where it's probably won't be a guy that'll probably, if he has to play early, will consistently find himself out of position. But I'm a big fan of him. There's a shot he might make the roster as a developmental guy. But yeah, again, the tandem, amazing there with Pratt and Wilson going to the secondary. And Chidobe Awuzie, who I believe he was beat up last season, right? I'm trying to just want to confirm that. Yeah. He only played 8 games last year. I remember him getting hurt. I thought that was going to be such a big hit for this roster, but Cam Taylor-Britt really stepped up and played well. So now you have Cam Taylor-Britt being the starter opposite of Awuzie, rather than an Eli Apple. If you don't know, Mike Hilton, a top 5, top 10 slot player in the NFL. Just gonna put that out there. And Awuzie has been really good. I didn't like the signing initially because he really didn't do nothing with the Cowboys of note. But then he it just all clicks for him, man. So Coach Lou, he knew what he had in Awuzie, and he put him in a system for him to succeed. I like that. I like that quite a bit. They did invest in corner in this draft, as well as they draft DJ Turner out of Michigan, who is on the smaller side, but great athlete. Someone who played a lot of man coverage for Michigan. There we go. Forgot it for a second. So he comes in and he probably can play slot. or he could play on the outside if injury happens. DJ Ivy, I believe he was the Miami Hurricanes, right? Big boy too. Or at least big boy wingspan. Coming in at 6 foot, 192. Honestly, that's kind of big for corners nowadays. A lot of people don't mind their smaller corners. But apparently they like what they have in him currently. Again, take it with a grain of salt as I move back over here. Take it with a grain of salt that currently on our lads that he's listed ahead of like a Sidney Jones in this like starting lineup or as a backup. But I mean, Sidney Jones kind of a journeyman, and I think he's actually a pretty good depth option to have on the roster. Like, I've always kind of been a big fan of Sidney Jones. I think people kind of sleep on him because he had like what? I think it was it. I can't remember if like he had one really bad season. I can't remember if it was with the Seahawks or with Jacksonville. But he's a very good depth option. But like if DJ Ivy's ahead of him, I mean, it is what it is. I think Marvell Tell probably doesn't make the roster here. Couldn't tell you much about Jalen Davis or Alan George. Alan George does sound familiar though. But I think those are your 5 corners. Looking at the, well, I guess technically 6. Looking at the safety position, Nick Scott, Daxton Hill. They are your starters. They bring in Nick Scott on a pretty budget deal. But, I mean, they probably draft Jordan Battle, hoping that he will be kind of like the next in line, kind of play more of a Von Bell role, which Von Bell was really good for the squad. But I think a lot of that had to do with just Coach Lou putting him in the right positions. Like, again, this dude, like Von Bell, coming downhill with a head of steam, big hitter, and can make plays underneath. And Jordan Battle is kind of in a similar way, big hitter. Like sometimes to his detriment, sometimes he needs to lower the hit box, so to speak, because he had a couple of targeting calls, I think, back at Alabama. I know for sure he had one, but I like Battle. Battle honestly could have came out in the 2022 class and probably went about in the same range. But Nick Scott's a solid player there. If you don't remember him with the Rams, he was like, I think like a 7th round pick, and he ended up just outplaying guys like Taylor Rapp and I believe was it Proctor? Who's there? No, Jordan Fuller. Jordan Fuller ended up being hurt, but I thought Nick Scott outplayed Taylor Rapp. Daxton Hill, this guy flies around the field. If they want to use him in the slot, they can. Shoot, you could use him outside at corner. He's got the range to play deep. I mean, honestly, I think he's at his best coming downhill, head of steam, and wanting to either make a play on the ball or pop a cat. Like he is like a freaking missile just right at your legs. Tyson Anderson, they drafted last season out of Toledo. I actually pretty big fan because I think he has good flexibility to really play anywhere in the backfield, like defensive backfield. Honestly, you can make that case for Cam Taylor-Britt as well. They do have Joseph Corker. Doubt he makes the roster. I don't know who this Michael Thomas is. Came in at Stanford. Doesn't really ring a bell. But no, I think these are your 4 safeties here. Very good secondary group. So yeah, that led me to ultimately settle on, hey, this is a top 10 defense. So I guess let's get to the portion of the video where y'all have been waiting for. What are my predictions for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023? So let's go ahead and take a look at that, as I have the Bengals going 13-4. And I think they have the 7th easiest schedule, which is kind of wild considering their division is Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals. But no, I have them going 13-4. I think if you want to, maybe if injury happens, maybe this team wins 10. Their backup's Trevor Siemian. He's fine enough to win them games if Burrow has to miss games. But yeah, what's the current win total? Win total odds. Bengals. It's 11.5. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel pretty comfortable. By taking the over on that. Again, they have one of the easier schedules in the league. By my projections, it's a top 10 easiest schedule in the league. I have them split in the division because, I mean, the AFC North, we talk about like division rivals typically like kill one another and they play each other very, very well. That is like emphasized by the AFC North. The AFC North probably does that better than any other division. And I have them 7-4 against winning teams, 6-0 against losing teams. Like I said, this is a squad that I think they're here to stay. They're going to be consistently like battling for that first seed and making runs in the playoffs. So let's go by game. They open the year with 2 division games. They first have to face Deshaun Watson and the Browns. Have really no idea how to feel about such a talented roster with the Browns, but I'll go ahead and give them the home win. I got Bengals beating the Ravens, as this one's in Cincinnati. Then you get the LA Rams. Honestly, Rams could end up being dangerous early in the season just because they're going to, one, healthy. And honestly, I think you can't really sleep too much on that offense. But I have this team, going 5-1 into their bye. They get one of the earlier buys in week 7. I got them beating Tennessee and actually beating the Seahawks, who are coming off their bye. But I mean, this one's in Cincinnati. I mean, you get Arizona. Come on. You open your bye by having to travel to San Fran, but I think that's a winnable game for them. I got them beating the Bengals. Not the Bengals, beating the Bills. This one's in Cincinnati. So, no, I think last year the Bills played in Cincinnati as well. Yeah. When the whole DeMar Hamlin thing happened, it was Bengals fans flocking the hospital. So that's going to be an interesting one. I bet you they make that a primetime game. You got Texans. That's not a biggie. Ravens here. Steelers. Oh, you don't face Steelers till late in the season. That's interesting. Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to be good this year. They were good to end the season, and I think that's just a sign of things to come. Colts, Vikings. To be fair, like down the stretch, these last 4 games, are kind of tough. Vikings, they're going to be contended for a spot in the playoffs or maybe even winning the NFC North. They're probably the favorites to win the NFC North. But that's going to be a close division. Steelers at Pittsburgh, that's going to be tough. I think Burrow gets back to his winning ways at Burrowhead. Gojo wouldn't like that joke. Luckily, Gojo's not around to hear that joke. Gojo, resident Chiefs fan of the channel. But then went in here against the Browns. So, like, all in all, I had this team making the conference championship game once again. If you didn't know, last 2 teams were the teams who lost the conference championship game that I did on the channel. So Niners, I have going to the conference championship game once again. Essentially, yes, I have a repeat of the conference championship game. Will it happen? Probably not. But I mean, I really think we're in a different echelon of teams at this point. Like when you're looking at the best teams in the NFL, it's the Chiefs, it's the Eagles, it's the Bengals, it's the Niners, who I did last time. The team before that, the Bills. You look at those are kind of like the top 5 teams in the NFL. But I mean, there will be teams that kind of like surprise us, or they start rising or developing quicker than we anticipate. Maybe the Jags get into this conversation or whatnot. Maybe the Dolphins stay healthy. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is on his revenge season tour, so he ends up having a nice, strong push in the playoffs. I don't know, but go ahead. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.